BookTube, thank you so much for watching The Literary Layer. And today I have a big book haul for my birthday. And on my birthday, I'm always going to celebrate myself, and I'm going to do what makes me happy, do what brings me joy, do what brings me peace, and I am just going to enjoy the whole month of April. Yes, I love it. I love April. My birthday was a few days ago, and I'm going to show you what I bought myself for my birthday. I'm also filming on a new camera. I received a DJI camera for my birthday, which was so unexpected. I love it. Of course, I love filming on my phone because it was just so simple. I'm trying to figure out this camera and all the settings and all the things that it can do, but I am so loving my birthday gift. I also bought myself some jewelry, and now I'm going to have to go into extra thrifty mode until the end of the year because, yes, birthday and Christmas, I just don't care what I get myself. So let's get into the books that I purchased. I have a bit of romance, I have some fantasy, I have some literary fiction, and I have some new releases. So the first one I have is Happy Land, and this is by Dolan Perkins Valdez, and I love this cover. It's so beautiful. Let me see. Who did this artwork? The cover design and photo illustration is by V.N. Nguyen. And look at this author's hair. Just gorgeous. It's like she has micro locks. Okay, so it says, in the hills of Appalachia, there once was a kingdom. Nikki hasn't seen her grandmother in years due to a mysterious estrangement inherited from her mother. So when the elder calls out of the blue with an urgent request for Nikki to visit her in the hills of western North Carolina, Nikki hesitates for only a moment. Okay, Shady. After years of silence in her family, she's determined to learn the truth while she still can. Mother Rita tells Nikki an incredible story of a kingdom on this very mountain and of her great-grandmother Luella, who would become its queen. So it sounds like this is a fantasy that's in the hills of Appalachia. I don't know if these characters are black or not, but this sounds really good. Something I haven't heard of before. So again, that's Happy Land by Dolan Perkins Valdez, and this one is a new release. Okay, so next is another new release, and this is by Bob the Drag Queen. I saw a video that he did on, I saw it on YouTube. I was like, I really want to check out his book because I kept seeing it everywhere. And then when I heard him talking about it, it just sounded so good. And then when I read what it was about, the plot, I was like, wow, I have to get that. So it's called Harriet Tubman Live in Concert by Bob the Drag Queen. And it says, in an age of miracles where our greatest heroes from history have magically unexplainably returned to shake us out of our confusion and complacency, Harriet Tubman is back, and she has a lot to say. Harriet and four of the enslaved persons she led to freedom want to tell their story in a unique way. Harriet wants to create a hip-hop album and a live show about her life, and she needs a songwriter to help her. So I thought that was so cool that that he has Harriet Tubman and others writing a hip-hop album to describe their story. Again, that's Harriet Tubman Live in Concert by Bob the Drag Queen. All right, so next I have a romance, and this is by Mary Monroe, and it's called Mrs. Wiggins. It says, the daughter of a prostitute mother and an alcoholic father, Maggie Franklin knew her only way out was to marry someone upstanding and church-going. Someone like Hubert Wiggins, the most eligible man in Lexington, Alabama, and the son of its most revered preacher. And Maggie's unexpected charm, elegance, and religious devotion makes her the perfect partner in lives. Well, that sounds good. And this one is part of a series, it's called Mama Ruby series, which is in which takes place in Lexington, Alabama. So you know, I said I'm from Alabama. I told you that before, and if it has Alabama in the plot, if the author's from Alabama, I'm typically going to get that book. Again, that's Mrs. Wiggins by Mary Monroe. Next, I have another new release, and this is 6 Days in Bombay. This is by Alka, Joshi, and it says, when renowned painter Mira Novak arrives at Wadia Hospital in Bombay after a miscarriage, she's expected to make a quick recovery, and her nurse Sona is excited to learn more about the vivacious artist who shares her half-Indian identity. Sona, yearning for a larger life, finds herself carried away by Mira's stories of her travels and exploits and is shocked by accounts of the many lovers the painter has left scattered throughout Europe. When Mira dies, quite suddenly and mysteriously, Sona falls under suspicion and her quiet life is upended. Again, that is 6 Days in Bombay by Alka Joshi. Next, I have A Sunny Place for Shady People by Mariana Enriquez. And this one, I think, is the next book for the Reading the Globe Challenge with page turners with Katja and scandy-daddling about the books, where we're reading translated fiction throughout the year. This one says, welcome to Argentina and the fascinating, frightening, fantastical imagination of Mariana Enriquez. And this author is from Buenos Aires. It says, in 12 spellbinding new stories, Enriquez writes about ordinary people, especially women whose lives turn inside out when they encounter terror, the surreal, or the supernatural. Again, that is A Sunny Place for Shady People by Mariana Enriquez. Next, I have a fantasy. This is the 5th season by N.K. Jemison. This doesn't really have much on the back. It says, it starts with a great red rift. It starts with death, with a murdered son and missing daughter. It starts with betrayal, and long dormant wounds rise up to fester. Again, that is the 5th season by N.K. Jemison. Next, I have The Stolen Queen, and this is by Fiona Davis. This says, Egypt, 1936. When Charlotte Cross is offered a coveted spot on an archaeological dig in Egypt's Valley of the Kings, she leaps at the opportunity. That is until an unbearable tragedy strikes. New York City, 1978. 19-year-old Annie Jenkins is thrilled when she lands an opportunity to work for Vogue fashion editor Diana Vreeland, who's in the midst of organizing the famous Met Gala, hosted at the museum and known across the city as the Party of the Year. The night of the gala, one of the Egyptian art collection's most valuable artifacts goes missing, and there are signs Hathor's legendary curse might be reawakening. Again, that is A Stolen Queen, and this is by Fiona Davis. Next, I have another new release. I think this is a new release. So this is Red Clay, and this is by Charles B. Fancher. And it says, in 1943, when a frail old white woman shows up in Red Clay, Alabama, at the home of a black former slave, on the morning following his funeral, his family hardly knows what to expect after she utters the words, "A lifetime ago, my family owns yours." Again, that is Red Clay by Charles B. Fancher. Next, I have a fantasy. This is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. It says, a world caught in an eternal war, one young man will become his people's only hope for survival. Again, The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. Next, I have The Name of the Wind. I think this is also a fantasy, and this is by Patrick Rothfuss. It says, it's a story of a hero told in his own voice. It's a tale of sorrow, a tale of survival, a tale of one man's search for meaning in his universe, and how that search and the indomitable will that drove it gave birth to a legend. Again, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Next, I have two romance, and these are by Beverly Jenkins. The first one is Nighthawk, and this is about a bounty hunter named Ian who's tasked with taking a beautiful woman in, he's captured her, and prior to this, his wife was murdered, and he doesn't believe in love anymore. So it sounds like these two are going to fall for each other. Yeah, that's Nighthawk by Beverly Jenkins. Next I have The Edge of Dawn, and I think this is part of a series, I'm not sure. But this one is about the beautiful daughter of a prominent Michigan doctor. Nerese has never strayed anywhere near the wrong side of the law. Her father is brutally murdered, and suddenly federal agents are swarming around her like flies, making accusations about a stolen North African diamond. Again, that's The Edge of Dawn by Beverly Jenkins. Next is Martha Wells' City of Bones. I think this is fantasy or sci-fi. And this one, it says, the city of Charizard, a tiered monolith of the ancient design, sits on the edge of the vast desert known as the Waste. Kots, a member of a humanoid race created by the ancients to survive in the Waste, and Sagai, his human partner, are relic dealers working in the bottom tiers of society, trying to stay one step ahead of the trade inspectors. Again, that is City of Bones by Martha Wells. Next, I have The King's Messenger. I want to say this one is literary fiction. I think it is. I'm not sure. But this is by Susanna Kearsley. Again, The King's Messenger. It says, it's the year 1613 and King James is sending his messenger, Andrew Logan, into Scotland with secret orders to arrest Sir David Moray, close friend and advisor of the late Prince Henry. And look at those edges. So beautiful. All right. Next one I have is Phantasma, and I think this one is a romantasy, and this is by Kaylee Smith. This cover is just beautiful. This cover art and design was by Alexandra Purton. Very beautiful. So it says, when Ophelia discovers her mother brutally murdered, there's no time to grieve. She has inherited the family's fearsome magic and enormous debt. Circumstances go from dire to deadly, however, when Ophelia's sister decides to pay off the loan by entering Phantasma, a competition where contestants rarely escape alive, and the victor is granted a single wish. Again, that is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. Next, I have Their Vicious Games, and this is by Joelle Wellington. Another beautiful cover. Cover illustration was by Sienna Smith, and the cover design by Laura Eckes. So beautiful. All right, so it says, Adina Walker has known this the entire time she's been on scholarship. You must work twice as hard to get half as much. She's been on scholarship at the prestigious Edgewater Academy, a school for the uber-rich and mostly white New England upper class. Is why she works so hard to be perfect. One fight, one moment of lost control leaves Adina blacklisted from her top choice Ivy League college and any other. Her only chance to regain the future she sacrificed everything for is the finish, a high-stakes contest sponsored by Edgewater's founding family, in which 12 young, ambitious women with exceptional promise are selected to compete in 3 mysterious events. The winner will be granted entry into the fold of the Remington family, whose wealth and power can open any door. Again, that's Their Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. Next is a new release by Agustina Bazterrica, and I'm so glad she released her novel next instead of her short story collection, because I was not a fan of her last short story collection. So I purchased this. I don't even know what it's about, but I saw that she had it and knew I had to get it. So it says, from her cell in a mysterious convent, cloistered away from the climate catastrophe that has plunged the world into chaos, a woman writes the story of her life in whatever she can find, discarded ink, dirt, and even her own blood. A low member of the sacred sisterhood, deemed an unworthy, she dreams of ascending to the ranks of the enlightened at the center of the convent and of pleasing their forbidding superior sister. And that is The Unworthy by Agustina Bazterrica. Next, I have The Ministry of the Future, and the blurb on the cover says the best science fiction, nonfiction novel I've ever read. I've never heard of anything described as that. So I'm not really sure what type of book this is. But it says The Ministry for the Future is a masterpiece of the imagination, using fictional eyewitness accounts to tell the story of how climate change will affect us all. Its setting is not a desolate post-apocalyptic world, but a future that is almost upon us. Again, that is The Ministry for the Future by Kim Stanley Robinson. Next, I have another new release, and this is by Erin Crosby Eckstein, and this is Junie. And it says, 16 years old and enslaved since she was born, Junie has spent her life on Bellarine Plantation in Alabama, cooking and cleaning alongside her family and tending to the white master's daughter, Violet. When wealthy guests arrive from New Orleans, hinting at marriage for Violet and upending Junie's life, Junie commits a desperate act, one that rouses her sister Minnie's spirit from the grave, tethered to this world unless Junie can free her. That is Junie by Erin Crosby Eckstein. And my final one is another new release, and this is Dream Count. I'm not sure if I knew this was large print. I'm not really a fan of large print, but this book sounds like it's going to be good. This is by Chimimanda and Ngozi Adichie, and it says, Chimaka is a Nigerian travel writer living in America. Alone in the midst of the pandemic, she recalls her past lovers and grapples with her choices and regrets. Sakura, her best friend, is a lawyer who's been successful at everything until betrayed and brokenhearted. She must turn to the person she thought she needed least. Omelagor, Chimaka's bold, outspoken cousin, is a financial powerhouse in Nigeria who begins to question how well she knows herself. And Kadiatu, Chimaka's housekeeper, is proudly raising her daughter in America. But faces an unthinkable hardship that threatens all she has worked to achieve. This is a reflection on the choices we make and those made for us, on daughters and mothers, and on our interconnected world. Again, that is Dream Count by Chimimanda and Ngozi Adichie. And those are all the books that I purchased for myself for my birthday book haul. Have you read any of these? Do they sound interesting to you? And what are you reading? Have you recently hauled any books? Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you soon.